we have two. I have two topics to cover today. One is stacked bar charts and what are the different ways to represent it, and also how we can use radar chart and a small walkthrough to how we can create it. So now a stacked bar chart is generally used in a place where we have multiple components of a particular, we want to show sub-levels or breaking down subgroups within a whole and comparing them to each other. So what has been the breakdown? So it is generally used in those scenarios, but there are two major problems with it. Whereas when the segments are little larger in number, they get confusing. And in a trending, when we want to see a certain trend or notice something in a stacked bar chart, it usually becomes a little harder because for the for the component that is at the base, we can still compare its change over time or going ahead. But for other components, it gets harder to compare them with each other, gets harder to visualize. So there are a few alternatives we can use to compare them with each other. Uh, so the first one is the quite simple one. We can simply use the legend for this, or we can basically select any of them to highlight one. So we can clearly in this method we'll clearly be able to see what is the pattern that is moving ahead with each of the month, and similarly we'll be able to notice the change that is going ahead from each and every month. So one is just the simple highlighting. The second one, which personally I felt was a better one, was we can have a dual axis option where selecting any of the button, or we can even use a legend or anything that we feel is more appropriate to show a second axis which shows the trend for the selected division or selected class. This would help us to not only have an idea of how it how it performed in that month, and what was the percentage share, what was its sort of percentage share in the complete month sale, but also see how it is trending for the entire period. So we can see this for all the divisions that we would have. So this is another way. And the last one that I have is the dynamic stacks. Here, since the stacks that are at the bottom can be slightly more easily compared with each other. So what we can do is we can switch the sorting of the order of the stacks so that we can change what lies at the bottom, and by changing that sorting, we can compare that. So in this, the first class is at bottom, then the same day or the second class. So accordingly, we can easily see notice the trend. So this is one of the three different ways that we can have, of creating a particular stack bar chart. But one of the things that we can use as an alternative is the radar chart. Basically, I'm sorry for the picture that I've used in the background. It's black. It should have been white. So basically, but if I the picture, yeah. So basically, this is a radar chart for each and every showing data for each and every month. Bring it back itself. Oh, yeah. So it is showing data for each and every month and for each and every year separately. So this can be used to compare, different, like for example, here we were comparing the delivery system with each other, like how much people have spent on it and how much we have earned from it. We can compare the total sales here. We can similarly compare other things from here, just see how they have performed over each and every month and what has been a total collection. So I'll quickly start with sample superstore data. Oh, sorry. So the first thing we need to create is the basically the months, that is each and every month. So for that I'll just create a month, the date name. The second thing we need to create is the angle. Basically, we need to create division for all the months in the angle. As we know, we have 12 months in the year. We can just simply divide, create a running sum for 2 into 5. And since there are 12 months, we'll divide it by 12. So we have the month angle ready and we have the month ready. The next thing we have to create is distance. So the distance from the center for any of the particular month's point would be exactly proportional to how much sales, or the metric that we have selected. Let's select sales for one. The amount of sale that a particular month has would determine how much farther away it is from the center, right? So the sum of the sales would be the distance. Then we have to define the x and y axis coordinate. So since it's the radar chart is basically a circle, we know that for the x coordinate we usually have for the x coordinate we have radius into cos theta, and for the y coordinate we usually have radius into sin theta. So since it would be plotted on sort of a circular in a circle that sort of a circular pattern, we'll create those fields for the x-axis. So the radius here would be the distance meaning the amount of sale that has been made. Distance into, it is the x coordinate, right? Cos of angle. And similarly, we'll create the y-axis. Distance into sine of angle. So I'll quickly, just to check once, I'll quickly draw months into rows and all the choices. Yeah. So I'll move months to detail, and for months I'll also move angle to detail. I'll calculate angle over the month because we need the running sum over each and every month so that it amounts to 360 degree, and the different months are shown at different angles. So we have the month. So we have selected it over month. So the next step, we can add x-axis to columns and y-axis to rows. Yeah. So here we can already see the shape it's taking up. We have the different points for each and every month. And now all we need to simply do is select from this to, we can either, if we select area, it's showing up a sort of a different, we can either choose area or we can select a polygon. So in the polygon, we can select, since our angle would take a particular path around the circle around the center, that is the 360, we can just choose the angle as path. And here we have the polygon ready, or the radar chart ready. So we can separate them by year, or since I did it by date in the last term, we can also segment it by product type, or any. Let's do it by segment this time. Oh, sorry, but we have already selected months, right? So I'll have to do it by month. Where is it? Order data. So yeah, as you can see, we have the data for all the different months here. So the first thing that comes to notice is the axes are not really uniform, so it does not portray a correct image of the data that is shown here. So we'll have to make the axis uniform, make it fixed. Since we can see the data is ranging from sort of 120,000 to minus 60,000, so we'll just make it 120,000 on both sides. As we can see, yeah, we have the version ready. We can reduce the size by however we want, basically to make it uniform, and according to the range of values that we have, we can change the axis limit. And now the next thing, let me just reduce the opacity for this. So the next thing we can see is these particular months are moving anti-clockwise, which is slightly counterintuitive. So to fix that, what we can do is simply we can change the angle from positive to negative. Yeah, and that basically flips the direction, and now we have it as uh, clockwise. But for the months, we have September here and November here and January is somewhere. I think this is December. January is here. So ideally, we would like to have January or December here. So let me add the web first. As I've showed in the original picture, I'll add the web. So we can create any particular image like the web here, or we can choose from the any existing one, or even we can add a manual one by as a floating in the Tableau as a floating in the Tableau dashboard itself. But we can choose whatever we want to do. Just align this. Yeah. Since here, as you can see, we have December here. December is, but in the actual map, it lies somewhere here. So this angle would be around slightly less than pi by 2. So I think we can add it, right? The angle, okay. We can add pi by 2. And so it reached here. It's slightly overshot. We needed it here. So let's change angle pi by 2.3. Yeah, it went exactly to there. So as we can see, we have all the month aligned with themselves. For January, we have January. For February, we have February. For March, we have March here, and similarly moving ahead. So this radar chart basically gives us an option of showing different types of data in showing the data similar to stack bar chart, but in a slightly different way. Basically, we can view the data for each and every month for all these years in a sort of a way where it's overlap. It compares to each other, and also we can clearly see how it has been changing for the upcoming month.